Hola, estudiantes. Today we're talking about the verb tener. This verb means to have. It's a very useful verb in Spanish. So before we get started, we need to talk about a couple of grammar terms. First off, infinitives. These are the simplest form of a verb. We don't know who is doing the action or when this action is taking place. It's just to be, to study, to have, to see. I don't know who is seeing something. I don't know when that person is seeing the thing. It's just to see. Now in Spanish, all infinitives end in either AR, ER, or IR. You've seen the verbs ser and estar. They both mean to be. Escribir means to write. And then, of course, tener ends in ER. It means to have. The second grammar term is conjugation. And conjugations are just where you've taken an infinitive and you change it to say who is doing the action. So, for example, in English, we have this verb to have. To have is our infinitive, and we have two conjugations of this infinitive to have. Has is one conjugation, and have is the other conjugation. And it all depends on who our pronoun is. So we know that if I'm talking about myself, I say I have, you have, we have, they have, but he has, she has, and it has. Another example, to be, is an infinitive. And this infinitive has three conjugations, am, is, or are, just depending on who is being. So before you get started with conjugating verbs, you have got to memorize your pronouns. There are tons of resources out there. It could be something as simple as making some flashcards or maybe looking up on YouTube. There are tons of songs on there for pronouns in Spanish. All you have to do is get onto YouTube and search Spanish pronoun songs, and there are quite a few that will come up there. So absolutely memorize those before you even get started with this next step. But let's get into it. So the verb to have is tener. And the thing about grammar is important. It keeps you from sounding like a toddler or a caveman. But if you don't know the vocabulary, this grammar stuff does you zero good. So absolutely, you want to know that tener means to have. Now, if I want to say I have, I know that yo means I. So if I want to say I have, I need to know that yo, and yo goes with tengo, just like I goes with have. If I want to say you have, to is you, so tienes is going to mean you have. If I want to use that formal you, or if I want to say he or she has, usted tiene, él tiene, ella tiene. And this is just like in English. Have goes with I or you and several of those others. So usted tiene would translate as you have. Él tiene translates as he has. And ella tiene translates as she has. If I want to say we have, we is nosotros, and nosotros goes with tenemos. So we have will be tenemos or nosotros tenemos. To say you all have, with vosotros, you'll say tenéis. So that would be you all have. And then ustedes, ellos, and ellas all share conjugation. Ustedes tienen, ellos tienen, or ellas tienen. So ustedes tienen translates as you all have. And then ellos and ellas both mean they. So ellos tienen or ellas tienen will mean they have. So those are your conjugations. And you'll never mix and match with your pronouns and your conjugations. You'll never need to say yo tenemos. That's like saying I has. So yo always goes with tango, tu always goes with tienes, and so on. So let's practice these. How old are you? This is one you've actually seen before. It literally translates as how many years do you have? So to say how many, we say cuantos. I'm saying how many years, años. And then we say, do you have? Now for this one, I'm going to go with two for you. So two goes with tienes. And that translates as how many years do you have? And then we translate one more step to make that make sense in English. How old are you? Now, if I want to include the you here, I can put the two after tienes. Typically, you're going to leave that out. To say I'm 15 years old, literally, I have 15 years. So I have, yo tengo. And that yo is optional. So you can say just tango or yo tengo. And then 15, I hope you remember, is quince, years, años. So you've actually been using tener for a minute. So moving past this años question answer, let's practice how many cousins do you all have? So same format. We're starting with how many. So cuántos. We're going to add in that vocabulary with cousins. If you look that up on Voces, you'll find the word primos. Now, we're saying, do you all have? Now, up here in this question of how old are you? How many years do you have? We really just left out do. That's a helping verb, and we just don't find those as useful in Spanish typically. So we're going to leave out that do. You just really leave it out. So, ¿cuántos primos? How many cousins do you all have? So we're talking about you all, and I'll go with ustedes for you all on this one. So ustedes goes with tienen. ¿Cuántos primos tienen? And then if I want to include my subject, because it's a question, I will usually put that on the end, ustedes. So to answer that, we have 10 cousins. We have. You have to know that we is nosotros or nosotras. And again, that is optional. So include it if you want to. To say we have, nosotros goes with tenemos. And then 10, hope we know is diez. Cousins is primos. Nosotros tenemos 10 primos. All right, Josue has 5 uncles and 2 aunts. This is where you've really got to think. Okay, Josue, I've got to turn that into a pronoun. Instead of Josue has, what could I put in the place of Josue? It wouldn't be I, it wouldn't be you. Josue would be he. So he has. Now I can say Josue here, and I'll keep that, but I'm thinking in my mind, okay, Josue is he, which is él. So él goes with tiene. Josue tiene 5 tíos, and is y, dos, and tías. All right, last sentence here. The house has a pool. So the word for house is casa. It is feminine. La casa. Ooh, and then we've got something tricky here to say the house has. So I'm going to leave a blank here. It has a pool. And pool is feminine, una piscina. Now this one's tricky because the house is not I or you or he or she or we or you all or they. The house is it, and that is not on my list yet. So if I want to say it, that is going to go along with tiene. Anytime it's it, whether it's the house or the school or the pencil or whatever, it goes with tiene. So la casa tiene una piscina. All right, one last thing before we go. We do have some tener phrases. Now, these don't translate directly into English. So the first one here you've seen. If you want to say, I am 15 years old, you put a number and años. So that is how old you are. So blank years old. And of course, you want to conjugate tener. If I want to say I am a certain number of years, I'll say tengo, the number, and años. If I want to ask about you, I'll ask tienes. Next one, hambre. That is asking if you are hungry. Tienes hambre? Or sí, tengo hambre. Yes, I am hungry. Sed is thirsty. So if I am thirsty, I'm going to say tengo sed. And directly translated, that's like I have thirst. Hambre, I have hunger. But we would translate it as I am hungry or I am thirsty. Frio, that means cold. So if you want to say I am cold, you say tengo frio. Calor is hot. If you want to say I am hot, tengo calor. We are hot, tenemos calor. Vergüenza is an interesting one. That means embarrassed or ashamed. Tengo vergüenza means I'm embarrassed. Tengo prisa would mean I am in a hurry. And then one more, suerte, that means lucky. Tengo suerte, I am lucky. Now that's definitely not an exhaustive list, but that's a good start for some tener phrases or idioms. So that is the verb tener. Continue working on it. Know those pronouns. Work on the conjugations. Hasta luego.